Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to show off all the new furniture, specifically the functional furniture that was added in the update to construction in RuneScape 3 when the level limit was increased to 120 and the plain-owned housing was completely reworked. I'm going to focus on the things that are useful and also just any piece of furniture that you can interact with in some way beyond examining it. So take a look. Let's hop right into it. We'll start out outside, so you can use the well or any sort of fountain in your garden as a water source. Your pet house can store 30 item pets. You can have duplicates in there, and then they will run around your house. They also will take up your bank space. Then I have these portals here. These are sort of, you can attune them to a single destination if you wanted to. I'm just having them for decoration here, because at this point, they have now added this portal nexus, where at the highest level you get a very large number of places that you can teleport to. You have to charge it with a bunch of runes, but then any location that you've charged will then be permanently available as a teleport. So definitely worth getting, and actually makes the single-use portals obsolete unless you want one for aesthetic reasons. Right, you go to configure, then I've already unlocked all the ones that I could unlock so far, but you have to pay to activate them, and then you can reorder them in any order you want. A couple more that I will unlock later once I have access to them. Then we have the jewelry box. Since we're looking at teleports, we might as well just do all the teleports right now. So this jewelry box lets you teleport to various pieces, various teleport locations from teleport jewelry. If you don't have access to this yet, you can also mount an amulet of glory on the wall as a single item to just use that, but that becomes obsolete once you have this with a whole bunch of different pieces of jewelry. Once again, you need to have all of the, in order to create this, you need to upgrade it with all of these, several copies of all of these items. Then we have the cape stand. It's a mahogany gilded cape stand, and then you can put capes on it that you can just admire, right? However, some capes offer teleports. Stop admiring the cape. And you can use the teleports for like the max cape, the cape of legends, Slayer cape, the engineering cape. You can also mount the Cape of Legends on the wall as well, just like the mounted amulet of glory. Was it the quest cape as well you can do? And then when we have more teleports, we have the ritual marker, which lets you teleport to Demonheim. We have the obelisk here, which lets you teleport to the wilderness, to any of the wilderness obelisks. Be careful, because if you just click on it without selecting a destination, it will just send you there without a prompt into the wilderness, which you might not necessarily want. There's also a Saren stone, which I have not built yet. It looks kind of like this. That lets you teleport to any of the 8 Elven clan districts. We have a spirit tree that we can use to teleport. You can also talk to it and ask where the evil tree is located. Once I get the fairy ring, I'll probably put it over here, or maybe in front of the spirit tree. I haven't gotten that yet. I'm also sitting at the furniture limit. And then we have the Altar of War, which works like the Altar of War at War's Retreat. It restores summoning and prayer. Then we have these potion cauldrons. So you have 3 tiers. The lowest tier lets you drink 12 minutes of a potion. The middle tier lets you drink 30 minutes, and the highest tier lets you drink 60 minutes. So what you can do is you can put potions into it, and then you can go and you can drink, and then you can drink, for your full hour, or you can drink for half an hour. There's a limit. I think you can have like 5 cauldrons total, and most potions work, but not all of them. I think there are a few that people are still asking to be added, but for the most part, like, you can put your overloads in here, and then you can be set up for a full hour of combat. It still costs you the same amount as drinking them normally, but you don't have to worry about drinking them mid-combat. Right now I have 2 cauldrons here. I thought, I could use one if I want to do 60 minutes and one if I want to do, 30 minutes. Maybe if I want to use some additional things that aren't overloads, I'll make some more cauldrons. We'll see about that. But right now I'm at the furniture limit, as I said. The trees that you plant outside are just cosmetic. You can't chop them down, but the ones that are further outside you can chop down. Alright, so I think we've covered most of the teleports. Of course, there's the house portal, which you need to enter and exit. You can also, to choose where you want to exit to, you can exit to any of the possible destinations, right? Which is nice. Then we have these paintings from archaeology. You can hang them up and admire them, but that's just an interaction. You also have these pedestals on which you can place bossing trophies and various other trophies. For example, I have here my Catalyst League a trophy, and you can pick it up and play the animation in this hallway here. And then, once I get various other trophies, I might display them as well. More paintings that you can technically admire. You can also look at you can display your qualification for archaeology. You can have the statue here of Demarok, where you add the rock pieces that you get each time you complete the statue, and eventually you'll have a full statue, which I don't quite have yet. I'm still missing the head here. Let's go next to basically like the workshop room that I've set up here. It's similar to what was originally the workshop. So we have the workbench here where you can craft any of the furniture. This is not really useful to have in your house, because in order to place the furniture you need to go outside of the house and put it in the storage box, and then you can actually use it in build mode. So it's debatable whether this is actually useful having in your house, but it is usable, right? Then we have the banner making stand where you can make plumed and heraldic gear. It's just cosmetic. You have the armor repair stand where you can repair all your things that can armor that's repairable, so you don't need to go to an NPC. It will still cost you coins if you use it. You can also repair a couple items that you probably don't realize, that you probably didn't even know about. Like you can repair rusty swords, you can repair broken arrows and broken staves here as well. Those are basically junk that you can get from a fishing trawler, or you can get them as pickpocketing loot, or like if you dig them up the dig site potentially. It's not actually useful to go repair them here because they're still junk after you repair them, but you can. Then you have these tool storages. There are 5 different ones that let you select a different set of tools. Many of these tools are already on your tool belt, but if you ever find yourself needing a bucket, you could go to your house and get a bucket, and get multiple buckets. Now it's worth keeping that in mind, or if you need a needle, I'm pretty sure there's a needle on one of these here. Right? You never know when you might need a tool for a quest, so it's useful to have one of each of these around, perhaps. You have this clock making bench, where you can make clockworks plus various toys. Useful to have one of these around. The Orb of Power, I can only examine it right now, but if I had an elemental staff, I could change the element of it by interacting with it. So it is useful to have this thing. We have a combat dummy, where you can test your melee ability, except I don't actually have weapon equipped. We also have the dartboard, but you need a ranged weapon to attack that. Then I suppose, and we can look at the bookshelves. Any sort of bookshelf you have will automatically store a bunch of lore books for quests. You only need one, it doesn't matter which one, but they also look nice, so I have several. Currently you can't interact with the fireplace. You can interact with the chair by sitting in it. And I think we can move on. Also, if you have interior doorways, you can edit doorways to get rid of them, but that only works for external doors. Interior doors, though, you can block them with furniture if you first place the furniture and then place the room that's adjacent to it, which is what I've done here. Just a little trick while we're at it. And we'll move on to the bedroom next. So currently you don't actually need a bed. In the old playground house, you needed 2 beds in order to have a butler, but that's no longer the case here. So it's just cosmetic. However, you have various storages for different types of gear. We have the armor case here. And the higher tier ones are able to store everything, while lower tier ones have a limit to how many items you can store. The magic wardrobe here. So that was the armor case. Then we have the fancy dress box, which stores a couple of miscellaneous cosmetic items. We have the eternal treasure chest, which can store all tiers of clue rewards. If you have lower tier one, like a mahogany one or an oak one, they only store lower tiers, so you do want the eternal treasure chest to store all the treasure trail rewards. You do need to have a full set of some of these items to deposit them, which can be tedious. If you have 3 out of the 4, then you can't store a partial set. Then we have the toy box, which lets you retrieve anything that's being stored by Django. You do not actually need to have this. You don't need to go to your house to retrieve this stuff. You can retrieve it from the bank or from in Draenor from Django. However, you can also build this in your house. Then we have stuff like this chart that you can ponder like a painting. We have the telescope, which shows you when the next shooting star will land, roughly when it will land, and how big it will be. It's worth having one of these. It needs to be pointing towards a window. It needs to be outside. If you have it just pointing at a wall or indoors, then it doesn't work. We have the clock, which will tell you the time, roughly. Like it is 20 past for me indeed, so the clock will actually tell you what time it is. The drawers and the dresser don't currently do anything. The desk doesn't do anything. The sinks, there are several variations of them, including a gold sink, it's very expensive, but they can all act as water sources. You can admire yourself in the teak mirror, but that doesn't do anything. And finally, we have the cape rack, where you can store a bunch of capes. For all of these pieces of furniture that store armor, capes, and so on, they're not actually stored in these piece of furniture, so if you delete the piece of furniture, it still exists in the storage, and if you have multiple ones, it will be accessible from all of them. So you don't have to worry about taking things in and out if you're replacing the furniture. They also disabled the ability to access or to take things out and deposit things from the bank. They said this was a temporary measure, but they haven't returned this yet, so currently you have to go to your house to actually do that, which is a bit tedious. Hopefully they do bring back that functionality. Next up, we have the altar. So the gilded altar allows you to restore your prayer. It allows you to offer bones and ashes. You can burn these incense burners, or you can light these incense burners with herbs to increase the amount of prayer experience you get. There are also various god-themed altars, like a Zaros altar, a Saren altar, a Guthix altar, and supposedly some of those, like the Zaros altar, can be used to also swap the spellbook that you're on. Worth noting that. Then we have these lecterns. There's a demon lectern and an eagle lectern. They offer different sets of different tabs that you can make, right? So it's worth having one of each, since they don't offer exactly the same set of tabs that you can make. Then we have some more paintings. You can also sit on benches, of course. Then you can only sit on benches and chairs if they are not diagonal, if they're on grid, let's say. There's stuff you can hang up. There are these trophy spots here. There are also these trophy mounts where you can mount various boss heads, and you can interact with them and have some funny dialogue. So they're not just cosmetic, you can actually have some fun. You can also interact with other people's and you have different dialogue than when you interact with your own. You can sit on the thrones. And we can move on to the kitchen room. I basically kept each room sort of as a themed room like they were in the old player-owned house, which just made a lot of sense to me. You can sit on chairs, you can sit on benches, however if they're this close to a table you can't actually get in there to sit on it, unfortunately. The teak larder lets you withdraw various items of food, including some items that can be used to make tea here to boost your construction level. The teak shelves allow you to withdraw various items for cooking, including the ones needed to make the tea as well. And if you want the highest tier boost, a tier 3-level construction boost, then you should have the teak shelves 2 or 3. They both offer the same things, but any of the lower, like teak shelves 1 or anything lower than that, gives you a lesser boost. The sink, you can have any sort of sink that will also work as a water source, and any sort of range you can cook at. In the past, it was better to have the best cooking range because it had a lower burn chance. It's unclear if that's still the case or if they all act the same. But I have a fancy range here, and the rest of the stuff is just cosmetic. Beehive here is just cosmetic. It's outside there, in my little corner spot. You can interact with the organ and do that. You can look at some of these display cases. Then we just have some. Basically, I hung up one of each painting. Those are just cosmetic. And then we have the aquarium area. So you can build a bathysphere. Well, let's just go straight to it. Where you can put any golden fish eggs that you find, you can put them in, and then you have the fishing creatures will actually run around in your aquarium. You can also put in the treasure chest and these mermaids' purses, oysters, and then you can collect stuff from them that fills up once per week. They made it now so that the stuff is noted, which is good. Also, there are some pieces of furniture in here like this that increase the fishing rate. Yeah, basically that boost fishing in certain locations. Yeah, like this one here as well. Keep that in mind. You want to have the ones that all of the ones that give a boost. You want to try to get them in your aquarium. Fishing guild. Yeah, and a couple of them are just for decoration, but I put in each of the ones that actually gets you a boost as well. And then in order to fully utilize your aquarium, you're going to want a salvage hunter diving suit. There are also lower tier diving suits, but in order to get the blue scroll, you need to have the highest one. And you're going to want a prawn broker to deal with your prawn perks. And then, other than that, we have just some decoration items everywhere here. So that was everything that I have built that is functional, that can be interacted with in some way. I suppose the highlights are really all the teleports. You definitely want to have those. Like a pet house is useful. Like the teleports, the storages for the pet house, all the storages in the bedroom, and then some of the stuff like the repair stand, dummy, and so on. These are the useful things. I hope this was interesting, and thank you for watching. Let me know if there's any type of video you'd like to see in the future. And that's all from me.